When the clock strikes midnight on New Year's Eve, most of us are surrounded by loved ones, laughter, and celebration. But what happens when the joy of the holiday is overshadowed by something darker? From eerie encounters to spine-chilling experiences, the following stories prove that sometimes the new year brings more than just resolutions. These are real accounts of people who faced the unexplainable as the rest of the world was busy celebrating. Turn down the lights, and let's dive into these unsettling tales. Title: Something terrifying was caught on my security camera. It all started a week after I installed my new security cameras. As someone who lived alone, I thought they'd give me peace of mind, another layer of security. I didn't realize they would do the opposite. My name is Charles, and this is a story about how my cameras didn't just capture movement, they captured fear. It was late December, a few days before New Year's. I had set up my system to notify me whenever the cameras detected motion, and for the first few days, it worked as expected. Occasional cars passing by, the neighborhood cat sneaking through my yard, things like that. But on the night of December 29th, at exactly 2:37 a.m., I was startled awake by the sound of my phone buzzing. A notification popped up, motion detected in the backyard. I groggily opened the app, expecting to see a raccoon or maybe the wind blowing leaves around. What I saw made my blood run cold. There was a figure, a tall, shadowy silhouette, standing completely still near the tree at the far end of my yard. The person, or whatever it was, wasn't moving, just standing there. I couldn't make out any details. The infrared night vision made everything look grainy and distorted. I watched for a full minute, waiting for the figure to move, but it didn't. Then, just as I was about to close the app and chalk it up to some glitch, the figure tilted its head unnaturally, as if it was staring directly into the camera. I froze. I wasn't sure what to do. I live in a relatively quiet area, so calling the police over someone standing in my yard felt excessive. Instead, I decided to turn on the floodlights. I tapped the button on my app, and the backyard lit up like a stadium. The figure was gone. Title: Why I'll Never Trust My Security Cameras Again. It started innocently enough. My name is Peter, and I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood. After hearing about a few break-ins nearby, I decided to invest in a security camera system for my home. It wasn't a big deal, just a couple of cameras set up around the front yard, backyard, and driveway. I thought it would give me peace of mind, but instead, it introduced me to something I wish I'd never seen. It was New Year's Eve, and I had plans to go out with some friends. Before I left, I decided to check the camera feed on my phone to make sure everything was in order. The cameras were working fine, and I even got a chuckle watching a squirrel hop across the lawn. The night went on as expected, drinks, laughter, and a countdown to the new year. It wasn't until I got home around 2 a.m. that things started to feel off. I walked into the house and noticed the back door was unlocked. That was strange. I was sure I had locked it before leaving. Thinking I might have forgotten in a rush, I locked it and didn't think much of it. Out of habit, I checked the security feed again before going to bed. The most recent footage showed nothing unusual until I rewound to around midnight. The camera facing the backyard showed a person, completely cloaked in black, standing near the back door. They didn't move, didn't try to break in, just stood there for several minutes, staring directly into the camera. I felt a chill creep up my spine. Who the hell stands like that, in the middle of the night, on New Year's Eve? I watched, trying to calm my nerves, when the figure finally moved. They slowly turned their head toward the kitchen window and walked out of frame. I ran to the kitchen to check the window. Nothing. I decided to review the other cameras. The front yard and driveway showed nothing out of the ordinary. But then I checked the footage from inside the house. My stomach dropped. The camera in the living room, which I had installed only as a backup, captured the same figure inside my house at 12:01 a.m. They were standing directly behind the couch. Title: The creepiest night my cameras ever captured. I'm Hugo, and I've always prided myself on being cautious. After all, the world can be unpredictable, and I like to stay one step ahead. That's why I installed a set of security cameras inside and outside my home. What I didn't realize is that being able to see everything isn't always a blessing. This happened a few days ago, right after New Year's Eve. I had hosted a small get-together at my house to celebrate, but by 1 a.m., everyone had left, and the house was quiet. Feeling tired, I decided to head to bed and left the post-party cleanup for the next day. Around 3:30 a.m., my phone buzzed with a notification, motion detected in the backyard. Groggy and still half asleep, I opened the security app to check the live feed. At first, I didn't see anything. The backyard was still and quiet, with only the faint glow of the porch light. Thinking it might have been a stray cat or a branch moving in the wind, I dismissed it and went back to sleep. But when I woke up the next morning and checked the recorded footage, my stomach turned. At exactly 3:29 a.m., the camera caught a glimpse of movement near the fence. A tall figure appeared at the edge of the yard, just standing there, staring toward the house. The person, or whatever it was, stood completely still for over a minute before slowly walking closer to the back door. What made it worse was how they moved. Their steps were unnaturally slow, deliberate, almost mechanical. And then they stopped, right in front of the camera, their face partially obscured by the hood of a jacket. I rewound the footage to watch it again, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. As I watched, my heart nearly stopped. The figure looked directly into the camera, tilted its head, and gave a slow, unsettling wave. I don't remember hearing any noise or seeing any signs that someone had been outside that night. But when I checked the backyard, the porch light bulb was shattered, and there were footprints in the dirt leading up to the door. I never saw the figure again after that night. But now, every time I get a notification from those cameras, I can't help but feel a knot of anxiety in my stomach. Sometimes, knowing what's out there isn't as comforting as you'd think. Title: The creepiest visitor I've ever had. My name's Luck, and I've always been the kind of person who keeps things low-key. After the New Year's celebrations, I decided to take it easy and stay home. Little did I know that night would turn into one of the scariest experiences of my life. It started around 2 a.m. when I was lying on the couch, scrolling through my phone. The house was dark except for the soft glow of the TV playing a rerun of some show I wasn't paying attention to. Suddenly, I heard it, 3 distinct knocks on my front door. It startled me because I wasn't expecting anyone, especially not at this hour. Thinking it might be a neighbor or someone in trouble, I hesitated but eventually walked to the door. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice steady but my heart racing. No response. I peeked through the peephole but saw nothing, just the empty street illuminated by the pale glow of the streetlights. I stood there for a moment, trying to decide if I should open the door or ignore it. Then, the knocks came again, louder this time. Grabbing my phone, I turned on the porch light and opened the security app to check the camera. What I saw made my stomach drop. Standing just outside the frame of the camera was a shadowy figure, barely visible but definitely there. They were standing so close to the door that the camera couldn't capture their face, just the edge of a black hoodie. I froze. My mind raced with questions. Why were they standing so still? Why weren't they responding? I backed away from the door, my phone in hand, ready to call the police. But before I could dial, I heard something that sent chills down my spine, a whisper, so faint I almost thought I imagined it. "Let me in." I bolted to the kitchen, grabbing the biggest knife I could find, and locked myself in. My hands were shaking as I waited, straining to hear if they'd try to break in. But after a few minutes, everything went silent. When I finally worked up the courage to check the camera again, the figure was gone. All that was left was a single muddy footprint on the porch, right in front of the door. To this day, I don't know who or what it was. I've upgraded my security system and even installed extra locks, but every time I hear a knock late at night, my heart skips a beat. Sometimes, the scariest part isn't what you see, it's what you don't. As the new year begins, it's a time for fresh starts and hope for the future. But these stories remind us that the unknown doesn't take a holiday. Whether it's the result of curiosity, bad timing, or being in the wrong place at the wrong time, the unexplainable can find its way into even the most festive moments. Thank you for listening, and as always, stay safe, stay aware, and have a happy new year, if you can.